back for another interview in our award-winning podcast series, Let's Talk, where we focus on the issues that matter to us at Hazel and Betty Ford, the issues that we know matter to you too, from prevention and research to treatment for substance use disorder and managing recovery from it. I'm William C. Moyers, your host, and today is special for me, professionally and personally, because I am with a woman whose trajectory as a recovery advocate in this nation I have had the privilege of being part of from the beginning. I first met Kathryn Burgum in North Dakota in about 2016 at an event where I spoke on behalf of a nonprofit treatment provider in the community. She and her husband, Doug Burgum, took more than a parting interest in what I had to say. In fact, they were among the first people to show up at the event, and they were truly the last people to leave. We actually said goodbye to each other in the parking lot at the Civic Center that evening. Welcome, Kathryn.
Hey, William. Oh my gosh, I have tears in my eyes because what a great night that was, and what a great path we've had, and it's just, and working together, it's just such an honor to work with you. And so, I mean, I forgot we said goodbye in the parking lot, but
Yeah.
It's true. We were literally hanging on every word you said.
Well, and I was struck that night when you all came because I learned that at the time your husband was running for governor of North Dakota, and I had seen other people who were candidates for office who would come to some of my events. They might come and they might wave, they might listen for a few minutes, but no one had ever stayed, and you all stayed as long as you did. There was a personal reason for that. Tell me what motivated you that evening, Kathryn.
Sorry, I'm emotional, but you know what? Well, the personal reason was because I was in recovery, and I'd never really talked about it, publicly. Never reached out to anybody to talk about it. And I had, about 15 years of recovery at that time. And you know what? I didn't reach out to talk about it to anyone or share with anyone because of the shame and the stigma. So I was there. I was also there because First Step Recovery, which was who the group was that you were working with, I had some dear friends that were part of that journey, and I also had participated with and had some help with people from that group also. So, when I was early in my recovery, so it was just serendipitous, but I also just felt this need. I just felt the need to be there. And my husband was so supportive of me and really has also has so much empathy and just we both are just on this path to, help eliminate the shame and stigma. And so, having a partner in the process is just so important. So, he was more than willing to and happy to be there that night.
Well, and it helped that he won. He was elected governor, and you became first lady, and you made recovery advocacy a cornerstone of your platform in that position. What's that been like for you, Kathryn?
Well, it's been, highs and lows for sure. But mostly it's been super rewarding because, the minute I gave an interview and told the world basically and opened the door that I was, that to talk about my own recovery, I felt like 100-pound weight had been lifted off my shoulder. And I sort of immediately felt like, some of the shame was already gone, and so it's, the ability to work with people, to share with people, to be able to, convene people to come together to really just talk about addiction. When I heard you speak that night, it was such a simple solution. You're like, hey, the easiest, fastest, cheapest, I'm not quoting you, but the easiest, fastest, cheapest way, this is what I say now, to eliminate stigma is just by talking about it. And it's free. And so that's what we've been doing. And we've been doing it since I got in office. And we have data that shows that we've decreased the amount of stigma around addiction in our state by 12%. And that, it's great to have the data as well. And all of that has really mostly been about storytelling, which I learned from you.
Well, we know the power of storytelling, and you are a very powerful storyteller. Just tell our listeners and our viewers briefly, what was your bottom? What was the moment when you made that turn?
Right, right. Well, I'd been I knew in college that I had an issue with alcohol and just progressed over the next 20 years. I relapsed very consistently for the last 8 of those years. And in the end, I just thought, because I was just like, I can do this. I've got a higher, I've got an MBA. Every job I try to, I just progressed in my life, but I just could not stop drinking. And then I also had untreated depression. And so in the end, unfortunately, I would drink a lot and I had depression and I became so depressed and suicidal. And so that was very scary. And so, I knew that I just needed to reach out for help. And I was able to finally able to really make a commitment and find people like me who were working hard on recovery. And that was really the group of people that helped me stay on this path of recovery, but also just doing this work and the advocacy and being around people that are still struggling helps remind me that I'm just one drink away from really ruining my life.
Yes, yes. So I want to come back to the advocacy part in just a minute, but just sticking with that theme for a minute about reminding yourself, do you ever get nervous being so public in the way that you are as the First Lady of North Dakota and the reaction that you get? How do you take care of yourself, Kathryn?
Well, that's a good question. I am never ashamed. I don't know why I'm so emotional. Because I'm emotional because I'm so dang grateful. That's really all it is. But I am never ashamed, to talk about it. It's like the minute I opened that door, it was like, hey, I have a disease like a lot of other people, and we don't need to be ashamed of it. But as far as taking care of myself, um, I'm really more of an introvert. I guess I'm probably an ambivert because I'm able to, be around people and do, and I'm love meeting people and whatever, but it kind of, some people get energy from that. It makes me a little bit tired sometimes. So I have to take time to sort of be on my own and get re-energized and, stay close to my friends and my family and, get some exercise, so I have to, it is important. And then, I also have this agreement with my husband where, when we go to events, because a lot of events we're at, there's alcohol. And, alcohol is cunning, baffling. The disease of addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And I don't ever want to be in that position where, all of a sudden somebody passes a tray of something and I'm like having an out of body experience of taking a drink and because I'm frustrated because I need to leave or something. So he and I have this great agreement where, when he decided to run and I supported him and just said, I know I can support you 100%, but I need to be able to, have my own getaway car, or leave when I'm ready to go. And that has just been really great because then I'm not stressed and I don't feel like and also, have the ability to say no to some things, because I can't overcommit either. As much as I would like to help and be a part of so many things, that's dangerous for my own recovery.
Yet you've managed to take your own recovery, you've managed to take your position as the First Lady of North Dakota, and you've taken that and truly become a national advocate for the causes that matter to you and your constituents in North Dakota, that matter to me, that matter to Hazel and Betty Ford. Did you ever imagine that you would become a national advocate in the way that you have?
No, never thought I'd be on your podcast. Never thought I would be, speaking at a national level. Never thought I'd be, invited to be at the table at the federal level, to help, with making decisions, to provide input. I never ever thought that. It's like it's crazy because, for those people out there that are trying to decide if they should get sober, or they're in early recovery and it's challenging. It's like you do not know what doors will open for you. You do not know, the amazing things that'll happen in your life. So, because you can never predict that, but you have a chance, if you're in recovery. So for sure, I sort of go back sometimes and go, I can't believe I did that, or I was able to meet those people, and it's amazing.
And one of the remarkable advocacy platforms that you've created that I've argued is a template for all 50 states, not just the state of North Dakota, is what you have called Recovery Reinvented. Could you explain a little bit about what that is?
Well, it's a fantastic one-day event that I'm fortunate to be a part of, really, and MC the event with my husband. But it started with a meeting with you and the head of our director of our behavioral health team in North Dakota, Pam Segnis. And it was kind of like, what should I do? Like, I think I was saying to you, what I don't know what to do, with my platform, and help, maybe help me figure out some strategy. And we all just came up with this idea of a one-day event. But I'm pretty sure it was you that said, we should call it Recovery Reinventing.
I don't know
you
about
know,
that.
that was, such a great idea, because it really is about truly, reinventing recovery and not and getting rid of shame and stigma. And so we've done it now for 6 years.
Incredible.
And one day event, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger. And I think we've reached over 30,000 people around the world, with the, people being able to, we provide it on the internet, and we provide it so that people that are incarcerated in our prison systems in North Dakota are able to participate, which is so great. So anyway, it's amazing, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. It's a one-day event where we just, talk about eliminating stigma. We have a bunch of, speakers that talk about it. We have art, we have music, we give out awards. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And you do it reflecting the population of the state of North Dakota. Even though you become a national advocate, even though you are the first lady of recovery in this country, you have always been sensitive and keen to making sure that you speak for and help the constituents of North Dakota. That's particularly challenging because a lot of those constituents don't look like you. Can you talk more about what services are needed in communities of color and in underserved populations?
Yeah. So in North Dakota, we share geography with 5 tribal nations, and I get emotional about this part because, it's just not. There's not enough information out there that this is, the population of people, um, across the nation that are the most adversely affected by the disease of addiction. And so, when we got into office, we met with all the people that head up the tribes, the chairwomen and chairmen, and we just said, hey, we want to partner with you. I said, hell, I will be available to you. Let me know I can help. And then, what's been really cool is that there have been partnerships developed. We have had recovery community organizations started. The first one in North Dakota was started on the MHA Nation reservation. And it's a place where they have peer support specialists. People can gather, they have meetings. And Turtle Mountain also, they just built a new treatment center at their location. And we have, they've had a youth council at Turtle Mountain and the Band of Chippewa up there. And the youth council has been amazing. And a big part of their focus is, on addiction. So, I mean, really, it's just been great to be able to connect with the tribes. And, they really want to make a difference. And I'm just there to help partner with them. And I'm fortunate enough to, they asked me to speak at a high school graduation, which was amazing. It was during COVID, but so if I'm able to partner with them and spread the word that the disease of addiction, there is no shame and stigma with that, that can go a long way. And I just, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I just feel like, we have so many things that happen at a national level. And I don't think anyone would, the average lifespan of some of the people on the reservations in North Dakota is like 58 years old. And I just don't think we would, you know, I don't know. There's so many underserved populations across our nation, but I don't know that any of them have that statistic. So we're just going to keep working to do, and a lot of that is related to the health conditions and addiction, and not having access to great food, et cetera. So anyway, that's my husband has one of his pillars is tribal engagement, and so and his DNA, his family, as we're one of the first to settle in North Dakota. His great great grandmother was called Zazula by the Lakota people because of how she worked with the tribe. So for him, it's been happening. The partnerships and have been happening for quite a long time. So it's a bit new for me, but I'm really grateful.
Your advocacy has been down in the trenches in North Dakota and on the reservations. Your advocacy has been in the State House and in your position. You've also taken your advocacy and brought it to organizations like Hazel and Betty Ford. You are a member of our board of trustees, and you've been quite adamant about the importance of diversity in our ranks. Why is it so hard for organizations that mean well and do well to become truly diverse? And I'm not just talking about Hazel and Betty Ford, but I'm talking about how we see, recovery advocacy. It is predominantly recovery advocates or people of color, our color. When I look at the units at Hazel and Betty Ford, we're still not as diverse as we strive to be. What is it that we need to do better at?
Well, I think that's a good question, because of course everyone is affected by the disease of addiction. Doesn't matter, what um, group you're from, what color you are. Everyone is affected. And so I think that maybe, I think with the tribal nations, it could be that, it's the stigma, it's the, getting us, yourself associated with the disease of addiction, that could be part of it. But I believe at Hazel and Betty Ford, we're making a lot of progress, and you know that as well in terms of diversity and at the board level also. When I joined the board, of course I started these conversations about the tribal nations and how Native Americans and American Indians are affected by the disease of addiction. And so we had those conversations for a while. And then, I believed it was really important to have someone who is Native American on our board. And so we are so fortunate now to have Dr. Don Warren on our board, who's MD, Stanford, Harvard graduate, in public health. And he is just going to be so helpful for us in terms of how we can provide services, how we can better connect with tribal nations across our nation, to provide services, because that's the big part of it, is just the lack of services and and the stigma. So anyway, he's an amazing, and our board is getting a lot more diverse, and we've got other populations and cultures as well. So I think we're making progress, and
That's
we're
right.
heading forward.
We are making progress, and you've been a big reason for that, Kathryn. However we measure that progress at the board level, in the organization, or across the continuum of the need in this country. I want to close by coming back to your story for just a minute, because telling stories, as you've talked about, is so important in smashing the stigma. What do you envision happens to you? I mean, you're not going to be First Lady forever. What is the next chapter of your story if you could write it? What would it be?
Oh boy, good question. I envision myself being an advocate for basically as long as it takes, until addiction is, we're not in a separate building on the edge of town somewhere. We've got a wing in a hospital, just like the cancer wing or the diabetes wing. It's the addiction wing, and healthcare is really dialed in, and because I think that's one area where if we eliminate the shame and stigma of addiction in healthcare, that will go a long way towards people saying, oh, well, this is the addiction wing, you don't have to be ashamed to go, get treatment and that sort of thing. So, I just see myself continuing to be an advocate, and just continuing to be available to help people. And as I people reach out to me all the time, and I'm so grateful to you and others, for helping me navigate, helping those people who reach out to me navigate the opportunity to be at Hazel and Betty Ford. So I see that as what my path is moving forward. Definitely.
Last question in that spirit. People will watch this podcast or listen to it, and they will be motivated to reach out to you. They will be motivated because they're struggling. What is your message, Kathryn, to people who are struggling not just with a substance use disorder, but struggling with the shame and the stigma about it? What's your message to them?
Well, my message is really just don't ever give up hope. Because, I mentioned earlier that, I relapsed for 8 years. That's a lot of continuous trying to get sober, like that's a lot of opportunity to give up. And, for me, it was like, but I didn't want the life I had. I didn't like the person I was. And, I had all that shame and stigma, but don't give up hope. Reach out for resources because you never know where your life can be, and it can be 100% better. So that's what I would say to people. And I am available. I have a First Lady website out there. Type in First Lady of North Dakota, you can find it. And I'm available. Reach out to me and I'll help however I can. But hey, if you want to come join our team and help us eliminate stigma, we'd be happy to have you on our team too.
Well, thanks, Kathryn. We're so grateful that you're on our team. And by our team, I don't just mean at Hazel and Betty Ford or our team in North Dakota, but our team of recovery advocates and champions across this country. You truly are, professionally and personally, an inspiration to so many of us, including me. And your story of hope is a story of hope for all of us as we continue to strive forward to smash the stigma and follow your lead towards recovery, redemption, and all the good things that are coming as a result of standing up and speaking out. Kathryn Burgum, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, William. Thanks for doing this podcast, and thanks for all you do to help so many people who are struggling with the disease of addiction, because I'm sure a lot of that helps. A lot of that helps them to remember that, to never give up hope for recovery.
Well, thanks, Kathryn. I'm glad we're on the team together. Take good care.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for another in this series of podcasts, Let's Talk. Remember, there is hope available. All you need to do is reach out and ask for that help, and you can find it like Kathryn and William and so many thousands of others have found it too. We hope you'll tune in again for another edition of Let's Talk. Take good care.